Buy high, sell low. It doesn't sound like a winning formula, does it? Yet somehow, Chelsea have turned that very idea into a model of modern football finance. They spend big, they sell for less, and still end up with more money to reinvest. How? How do they continue buying players while staying within the limits of financial fair play, FFP? Today, we pull back the curtain on the secrets behind Chelsea's transfer machine. Chelsea have become masters at manipulating football's financial rulebook. Under the ownership of Todd Boehly and the Blueco Consortium, the club has crafted a sophisticated financial strategy built around a single idea: amortization. It's not flashy, but it's powerful, and it's changing how clubs operate. At the heart of this strategy is the long-term contract. Chelsea regularly sign young players on 6, 7, even 8-year deals. UEFA and the Premier League allow transfer fees to be amortized over a maximum of 5 years. That means Chelsea can book lower annual costs on their balance sheet while giving themselves more flexibility in the market. Here's how it works. Let's say Chelsea signs a player for £70 million on a 7-year deal. For accounting purposes, that fee is amortized over 5 years, so £14 million per year. 2 years later, they sell that player for £45 million. By then, only £42 million of the transfer fee has been recorded. So, technically, Chelsea post a £3 million profit, even though they sold the player for less than they paid. It's a legal accounting trick, a difference between real-world cash and financial reporting. That makes all the difference. Chelsea took this model to new heights in the summer of 2025. Deals like selling Kiernan Dewsbury Hall to Everton, offloading Armando Broja, or parting ways with Leslie Ugochukwu weren't just tactical moves, they were financial plays. The club needed to register new signings for UEFA competition, and that meant balancing the books before the June 30th financial deadline. In the 2023-24 financial year, Chelsea reported profits of £130 million. A large chunk came from internal transactions, like selling the women's team to their own ownership group, and from accounting gains on transfers. But actual cash profits from player sales? Only about £51 million, better than the year before, but still reliant on creative accounting and special one-off deals. Still, these sales are crucial. They help Chelsea comply with profit and sustainability rules and keep the transfer engine running. But there's a trade-off. The club often parts ways with promising young players far too soon, because even a modest profit on paper can be enough to justify the sale. Buy low, loan smart, sell high. The Chelsea cycle. Chelsea's magic isn't just in selling, it's in knowing when and how to do it. They buy young, they loan smart, they cash in at the right moment. It's a closed-loop system: scouting, developing, showcasing, selling. Take Omari Hutchinson, signed for next to nothing, played just 2 games for the first team, sent out on loan to Ipswich Town, where he scored 11 goals, notched 6 assists, and helped them secure promotion. Suddenly, his value skyrocketed. Chelsea sold him for £20 million, with a 25% sell-on clause. That's nearly pure profit, without ever having to make room for him in the senior squad. That's the model. Bring in young talent, loan them out through their multi-club network, and cash in. Clubs like Strasbourg, owned by Blueco, are key cogs in the system. Players like Angelo Gabriel, Andre Santos, and Mathis Amugu have either been loaned or sold to Strasbourg, often for 14 to 15 million euros, even if they've never played a minute for Chelsea's first team. They don't need stars, they need potential. If a player doesn't shine, they're sold cheap. If they're solid, they're marketed while their value is hot. And if they're great, then Chelsea treat them like strategic assets, holding out for massive bids. Just look at Cole Palmer, bought from Manchester City for £42.5 million, now valued at nearly £250 million. Chelsea turned down a €170 million offer this summer because they know he's still rising. It's not just about waiting for the market to call, it's about creating the market themselves. With smart use of media, performance data, and perfectly tailored loan stints, Chelsea know how to build a player's profile to boost their price. At Chelsea, a loan isn't a temporary fix. It's part of the profit pipeline. They know what players need, they know what loan clubs need, and they know what the market wants. It's like watching a hedge fund manage assets, except the assets wear boots and train at Cobham. And it works. In the summer of 2025 alone, Chelsea raked in over 150 million euros from player sales, most of whom were never key members of the first team. That's not luck. That's strategy, a system, an industrial process. In this machine, a player doesn't have to succeed at Stamford Bridge to become a valuable asset. He just needs to fit the system long enough to generate profit. Under the ownership of Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital, Chelsea shocked the football world, not just with their lavish spending, but with how ruthlessly they cleared out players without seeming to care much about profits or losses. But here's what few people talk about. Chelsea's confidence to spend isn't just about wealth, it's about freedom from debt, a gift left behind by Roman Abramovich. Before sanctions hit in 2022, Abramovich made a final defining move. He wiped out £1.5 billion in debt that Chelsea owed him. That decision created a financial blank slate for Boehly and his partners to build upon. In other words, Chelsea entered the new era debt-free, unburdened by the past. And that changed everything. They could splash over £1 billion in 2 years, investing heavily in youth, knowing not every deal had to work out. They could offload big names like Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Mateo Kovacic, Christian Pulisic, or Ruben Loftus-Cheek, without scrambling to balance the books. Unlike clubs like Barcelona or Juventus, who are forced to sell just to survive, Chelsea sell to refresh, to rebuild, or simply to make space for the next wave. Even those famously long-term contracts, 6 to 8 years for new signings, are part of the plan. They allow Chelsea to amortize transfer costs over time and spread out financial pressure. Combine that with a clean financial sheet left by Abramovich, and you get a club that can afford to take early losses, as long as the long-term strategy stays on course. No club in the world signs 20 players and expects all 20 to succeed. But Chelsea are bold enough to try, because they've created room for failure. Misses like Aubameyang or even the still unsettled Mudryk don't crash the system. That's why Chelsea under Boehly act fast in the market. They don't flinch at inflated prices. They don't hesitate under pressure, because they're not buying for now. They're building for the next 3 to 5 years. And even if a few moves flop, it's a price they're prepared to pay, thanks to the financial reset that began the moment Abramovich forgave their debt. That single act, quietly tucked into the chaos of 2022, laid the foundation for Chelsea's aggressive rebuild. A rebuild that isn't reckless, but calculated. The modern Chelsea is no longer a club bankrolled by the passion of a billionaire who simply loved football. That era of Shevchenko, Drogba, and Ballack, bought on whim, has ended. And so has the romance of football politics entanglement. Today's Chelsea operates under the logic of Clearlake Capital, one of the largest investment funds in America. And when a hedge fund owns a football club, one thing matters above all else: return on investment. Clearlake doesn't run Chelsea like a football club. They run it like a portfolio company, where the product isn't trophies. It's players. Every signing is a calculated investment. It's no longer about what the manager needs this season. It's about what the club can gain in the long run, either through performance or resale. Chelsea now see footballers as assets with value curves. They buy smart, they buy early, and when the time is right, they sell. The goal? Not just winning matches, but building a squad that grows in financial value over time. Take a look at their outgoings: Mount, Havertz, Kovacic, Pulisic, Maatsen, Dewsbury Hall, João Felix. All sold while their market values were still high. Sentiment doesn't guide these decisions. Asset performance does. If a player no longer offers peak return, whether on the pitch or on the books, Chelsea move on. Sometimes they even accept controlled losses, using swaps, buyback clauses, or future resale percentages. Some fans saw the sale of Loftus-Cheek to Milan as a loss. Others mourned Mount's move to Manchester United for £55 million. But zoom out. Chelsea cashed in, cut the wage bill, and opened up space for assets with higher ceilings. Players like Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, and Moises Caicedo. Younger, more scalable, better fits for the long-term blueprint. Chelsea now operate with a level of liquidity few clubs can match. They can move players in and out rapidly without destabilizing their financial structure. And in today's football economy, where financial fair play regulations are tightening, liquidity is a competitive edge. Selling well isn't just good business, it's a survival skill. And Chelsea have turned it into an art. Their squad is stocked with young, athletic, high-upside players who can either blossom at Stamford Bridge or be sold for profit. Chelsea don't need to hold on to players until they peak. They don't need to wait until contracts run down and lose assets for free. They manage their roster the way a venture capitalist manages startups. Invest, develop, cash out before the dip. At Chelsea, players are cyclical assets. They're scouted, nurtured, marketed, and moved on when the time is right. They don't need to become legends, they just need to generate value, on the pitch or on the market. And that, more than any headline signing or flashy new manager, is the true revolution of Chelsea in the Clear Lake era.